Hey everybody, it's Brian the Gamer Guy, and if you are new to this channel, what this channel is essentially my documentary of my life as a game player. So, it's primarily an RPG channel, primarily JRPG channels, but I can't say that other games won't happen, Resident Evil, whatever. But for the most part, you'll be seeing JRPGs and the occasional dips into Western RPGs and the occasional dips into other things. And occasionally I try to do impressions and thoughts on things. That's a much smaller section of this channel for the time being. It takes time to get these out. And So these come along, but they're slower. But anyways, while you're watching this Dragon Quest footage of me fighting the Dragon Lord, I wanted to talk about a game that is still in development that I thought was awesome. I loved it. And it is called the Alabaster Dawn, and now cue in the crosscode footage, is from the developers of Crosscode. Now, if you have not heard of Crosscode and you are into RPGs and action RPGs, which I'm sure by now most of you had because a lot of YouTubers liked it, it got a lot of attention when it was new. But if you are not familiar with Crosscode, you like those kinds of RPGs, check out Crosscode for sure. It is a very well done action RPG by a very small indie studio, and it's just well done. The graphical style is this amazing Western style that kind of meets a little bit of anime. It's well done. The artwork is well done. It's beautiful to look at. The cutscenes are beautiful. The flashy things that go on. It is just a beautiful game. The boss work is amazing. And the game has content. There's just a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of grinding, there's a lot of questing, there's a big story to follow. This game is packed full of things from such a small company. And it definitely deserves some attention if you have never played it. Okay, but anyways, what we're talking about is their new game that they're working on, Alabaster Dawn. Now, full disclaimer, this is a demo, so it's like an alpha build. They're planning on going into early access sometime, which we don't know. And then, so the early access will probably be a beta build. So this game is probably far out from being done. I mean, if I had to guess. Now, this company obviously has a good record with Crosscode, so the game's probably coming out. I mean, and what I played of it is smooth so far, and it's deserves some attention. So let's get started on talking about it and what I thought about it. All right. So first and foremost, it starts off. It shows that these monsters are. Hold on a second. Sorry, clear throat. These monsters are invading the planet they're on, and essentially they've taken over and turned everything all red and kind of dead and decayed looking and stuff. And these heroes, they're wiped out at first, and then it goes to your character Juno, and she wakes up. And she finds a mystical god sword and all this stuff, and thus her journey begins to get to her village, and she revives the village, and the green comes back. And so the story itself is why I'm introducing that. Seems that is going to play like this kind of Soul Blazer, Terranigma kind of kick. If you have ever played those games from Square Enix in the past, in the Super Nintendo, those were pretty phenomenal games. They're seeming they're going with that whole revival thing for the story arc, and it basically flows like that, and you don't get much. You basically have her, exploring this place, slowly making her way to the town, seeing that things are ruined, being sad that things are ruined, Juno's wondering if she's all alone, and then we revive the town, and that's kind of where the story part of the demo really kind of ends. Excuse me. All right, so after that though, let's kind of talk about gameplay and things. I mean, graphically, gameplay, all that stuff. Let's go with graphics. Graphics, it's a lot like Crosscode. It's got a similar art style, very beautiful, very well done, very big bosses. I mean, you're going to get that kind of thing. It's smooth, it looks good, it's crisp. All the sound effects and stuff, I don't know if we're all the way in place yet because it's a demo. You may not, I mean, the music is sparser than it was in Crosscode. But again, it's a demo, so you don't know what you're going to get from that. But so far, what's in place is smooth. It looks good. It ran, at an easy solid 60 frames on my computer, and I don't have the strongest NVIDIA card. I don't have the highest level Intel, and I don't have the highest amount of RAM in there. I mean, my computer's decent, and it can game, but at the same time, it's not crazy. And it ran 50, 60 frames real smooth. The game ran real smooth. Performance wise, it went pretty well on my machine, even for an alpha build. So, hey, graphically, performance, the sound that was there, sound quality's good, all that stuff's good. Um, Now, your character, I mean, it's obviously an action game, so you do dodging, and the enemies will telegraph a move. You can dodge out of the way of it, or you can hit the LB button and block it. And that's the extent so far that I was able to see. Dodging, blocking, and in a lot of ways, it seems a little bit easier than crosscode in that thing because the moves are telegraphed. You get these, they telegraph a big red flash. There's sound that they play. You can see a telegraphed line. Things just seem to be quicker and easier to dodge in this one than it was in crosscode. Crosscode, you really had to watch the enemy's movements and things. You didn't get the telegraphs to the same level. Crosscode was more bullet hell. Um, and this one seems to have slowed it down a little bit. But again, I've played the demo, so I don't know. It may progress to get harder as things go, but what I can tell you is what I played. There is some of that action challenge there, but it definitely seemed a little bit slower and a little bit easier. And it could be that they're just taking more of an approach to try to draw you in slowly and incrementally increase the difficulty. It could be that they are trying to make it a overall slower action RPG. Maybe they got more complaints that the other one was harder for RPG players and went more into an action genre than it would an action RPG genre. I don't know. There's not enough there to tell yet. So just from what I saw, the telegraphs were slower. The things were easier to dodge. I had an easier time. And look, I'm legally blind. So, I mean, like for me, sometimes things come a little slower across when I process and all that. I had a real hard time with crosscode. I didn't have as hard of a time with this thus far. I don't know if that gets harder later on or if it changes when the final release is there. Um, but yes, combat was really smooth. It had a lot of that crosscode smoothness. The controllers were really responsive. You comboed up and all the things very similar to crosscode. Like it's like if you did hit XXX, you go into a combo, and then if you hit X and then delayed and then hit X again, you might do a series of stabs. And that brings me into the next part, the leveling up and the RPG elements that I saw. Okay, so I'll try to show this from my footage too, but you pop open the menu. When you pop open the menu, you have three sets of things you can level up. You can level up your melee weapon, you can level up your character, and you can level up your ranged weapon. Now, your character, obviously, you have a node, and there didn't seem to be a lot of node. There was really little so far. I don't know if that grows later on. I hope it does, because it was a very little node, and progress on it was kind of slow. You get a point here and there in a level, but it was a small node, so I hope that gets bigger. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe they make up for it because of all the melee weapons, because you can level those up. But anyways, you have your node, and it's things like, do you increase your crit? Can you increase your hit points, your armor? And there's also kind of things you may be able to unlock, like gym unlocks. They have a gym system. Okay, and then on the other nodes, it's your weapon nodes. And your weapon nodes, when you do that, you can unlock combos and things. So it's like, okay, if you do this one, you unlock, the dancing wave, and you hit XXX, and it does this good stun combo, this combo that's really good against stunned enemies. And then if you choose, you can unlock the stabbing one, where if you hit X and then delay and hit X again, you start doing a flurry of stabs. So when you do the weapon unlocks, there's moves, and it's the same for the bow. You unlock this one. It's like if you hit the trigger and you don't aim and you hit the trigger, you'll do two shots. And then if you level up the next thing, you hit the trigger one time and then hit it again, and it does a third power shot. Or if you hit the trigger once, it does the two shots, and you hold the trigger, and then it does like a released up in the air down to earth shot. So the weapon things is about skills, and of course you can unlock gems on the weapons as well. So bringing me to that is the gem system. So from what I saw, you can change weapons. I got a sword, this bow weapon, and then towards the end of the demo, I got a hammer. The weapons have some environmental things, like the sword can cut grass, the hammer will smash through rocky things, and the bow arrow can hit things from far away and switches from far away. But you seem to be getting different weapons. Each weapon has its kind of tree. And the weapons have gem unlocks. So you can put gems on your weapons, you can put gems on your character, and those gems also play a part in determining what stats you have and stuff. So there seems to be a little bit of build there. You can kind of customize a little bit and like go with a build. Like, I want to focus on a lot of fast hits, and so I want a gym that does a lot of crit with these fast hits. It seems there's going to be some of that there, and there was a lot of that in Crosscode. It's just a little bit different how it plays out. So I fought, two bosses. They didn't seem too hard at first. They're the boss, the last boss that you fight in the nest or whatever. It starts out with one set of moves, and as you get its health down, then the telegraphs get more. And then when you get it down to a further thing, then it changes yet again. So there's like a three phase of the moves. But the moves were fairly telegraphed. They were relatively repetitive and things. So it's not like it's a crazy thing that it's hard to dodge or anything. There was a set pattern to the boss, and then when you got his hit points down, there was a second set of patterns to the boss. Again, a lot easier than Crosscode because Crosscode's bosses there was a lot more bullety things going around and stuff. They were just harder bosses, and the patterns were a little bit less repetitive. This one had a more set form of patterns. I personally like that better. I don't know if you're a more action fan. I think you might prefer more of the intenser battles that Crosscode had, but that's what I saw so far. So, that's where the demo ended. There was a mountain pass thing. It said, okay, here's the story. It's done. I got to do a little bit of cooking as well, and food obviously gives you buffs and heals your hit points. But I did all that stuff, and then it's like, hey, if you want to, you can now go to the mountain, and it just basically skips a lot of story, and you go to the mountain, and they purposely put a little puzzle thing there. And I stopped for the night there, and I was good. I got enough that I wanted to see. I knew that I was interested in it. I knew I would want to play it more. I would buy it absolutely, like I bought Crosscode, and do it. So I didn't go finish the mountain segment. I didn't want to be, confused by the puzzle. I didn't want to have to go look it up or sit there for 30 minutes trying to figure it out. So I was like, okay, felt good to me. So, anyways, that's my impressions on Alabaster Dawn. And personally, I would support this one in early access if that's you. I would definitely buy this one. I think it's one to look out for. And in this hobby that we call gaming, we need games. We need new innovation. We need indie companies. We need these games to come out. These indie companies are starting to show the bigger companies, hey, these games haven't lost their appeal, and these bigger companies are seeing that. Like, look, Aiden Chronicles came out, and when they came out, now Konami's trying to make a new Suikoden. Um, the Bloodstained came out and more Metroidvanias. Well, Konami's coming back and like, okay, well, we're making a new Metroidvania Castlevania with Trevor Belmont, I think. But you have to have these kinds of indie games for some of that to happen on the big companies. They need to see that too. So, and you get good games from these. So, I mean, I would suggest checking this one out. And, if you haven't, check out Crosscode and pay the $19 for it or whatever, or get it on sale for like 9. A lot of content there, a lot of expansions already there. Good game as well. So, I hope this helps. I hope this points you in the right direction of this awesome hobby we call gaming. And stay tuned for the next time. Okay. Thank you all for watching.